Hello and welcome to Nauru. Together with Nauru, Tuvalu, Marshall Islands and Kiribati, and chuck in there Niue, this is one of the 5 least visited countries in the world by tourists. In fact, according to the UN, this is the least visited country in the world. Nauru, with 21 square kilometres, it's the 3rd smallest country in the world by geography, only larger than Monaco and Vatican City. And with 10,000 people, it's the 3rd smallest country in the world by population, larger only than Vatican City and Tuvalu. Nauru is about 21 kilometres in circumference, and there's a fertile strip about 100 to 300 metres wide around the edge of Nauru, where most of the houses and roads are built, and the inland doesn't have much you can farm on it. Nauru is a pinnacle, that is, it juts straight out of the water. There's no surrounding coral reefs and lagoons and things like this. You go straight to the edge of Nauru and straight into the ocean, which means even this white sandy beach has just these coral heads sitting on the top, nowhere you can really swim, and then straight out to the edge, and because it drops down, nowhere you can really dive. Nauru has no seaport, with occasional channels being built to allow small boats to come in and access the island, but no major port of any note. Traditionally, Nauru was governed by 12 clans or tribes, traced matrilineally, which are represented in the 12-pointed star on the country's flag. Nauru was annexed by Germany in 1888, which ended the civil war that was going on between the 12 clans and tribes, and kings were established as the rulers of the island. When I was a kid, we used the somewhat disparaging name for Nauru of Bird Shit Island. Yes, that's insulting and I recognise that. But it's kind of true in the sense that over the millennia, birds would drop their droppings here, leaving a whole bunch of phosphate. That turned out to be a really bad thing for the people of Nauru because that was strip mined. The Pacific Phosphate Company began to exploit the reserves in 1906 by agreement with Germany, exporting its first shipment in 1907. Let's talk about strip mining for a second, because what strip mining does is it takes out the topsoil, gets rid of the vegetation, and gets the valuable stuff underneath. You're supposed to put the topsoil back, but here the people who strip mined Nauru didn't, and they've made the inland almost uninhabitable. Following the outbreak of World War I, Nauru was captured by Aussie troops. After World War I, Nauru became a League of Nations mandated territory administered by Australia, New Zealand and the United Kingdom. During World War II, Nauru was occupied by the Japanese troops and was bypassed by the Allied advance across the Pacific. Because of the occupation by the Japanese, you actually do see some bunkers and guns left over by the Japs. Phosphate strip mining continued, which has so seriously harmed the country's environment that in 1964 it was proposed to relocate the population of Nauru to Curtis Island off the coast of Queensland. But home is still home. The Nauruans didn't want to shift, so they stayed here, and I reckon fair enough. Nauru became self-governing in January 1966, became independent in January 1968. Strip mining continued. In 1967, the people of Nauru purchased the assets of the British Phosphate Commissioners, and in June 1970, control passed to the locally owned Nauru Phosphate Corporation. Income from the mines made Nauruans amongst the richest people in the world until it all ran out in the 1990s. And those of you from Melbourne, like I am, will remember Nauru House up on the top of Collins Street, which was one of the investments which was supposed to guarantee the long-term financial future for the Nauruans. It didn't work out that way. In 1989, Nauru took legal action against Australia in the International Court of Justice over Australia's administration of the island, particularly Australia's failure to remediate the environmental damage caused by the strip mining. There was an out-of-court settlement, and I don't know what that was, but Nauru got something. How much, I don't know. At various points since 2001, Nauru has accepted aid from the Australian government in exchange for hosting the Nauruan Regional Processing Centre, a controversial offshore Australian immigration detention facility. Anyway, Nauru is beautiful, but there's not much to do here because you can't really dive and you can't really swim. And as I've discovered, the restaurants are closed on Sundays and I haven't had breakfast yet and I'm hungry. Nauru, the least visited country in the world.